Have you ever found yourself in a relationship where things seemed perfect, but something just didn't feel right? Everything was calm on the surface, but beneath it all, tension started to build, almost without warning. You might have never expected it, but what if the silent killer of relationships wasn't loud, fiery, or confrontational, but rather calm, grounded, and unspoken? Today, we're talking about Taurus, the zodiac sign that could be quietly undermining your connection without you even knowing it. Taurus is often seen as the stable, reliable sign, the rock in your life that you can always count on. But beneath this serene exterior, there are some subtle behaviors that can cause serious strain in relationships. In this video, we'll dive into why Taurus is the silent killer of love, without even raising their voice. From unspoken expectations to emotional guarding, these traits can create a slow but steady erosion of trust and connection. But don't worry, I'm not just here to point out the flaws. I'll also share how you can recognize these patterns, and most importantly, how you can avoid letting them silently destroy your relationships. By the end of this video, you'll have a much clearer picture of what's really going on beneath the surface and what you can do to restore balance and peace. If you're intrigued and want to learn more about Taurus and other zodiac signs, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with anyone who could use a little astrology insight in their life. Now, let's uncover the hidden side of Taurus and how it might be affecting your relationships. Imagine this: you're in a relationship, everything seems fine on the outside, and you believe your partner truly understands you. But deep inside, you feel an inexplicable pressure. It's not coming from their words, but from their actions, or lack thereof. This subtle weight often comes from Taurus, who, while reliable and stable, tends to hold expectations that they rarely voice. They assume that you should just know what they want, without ever spelling it out. Taurus often holds a very specific vision of how things should be. They crave stability and consistency. And in relationships, they expect the same level of dedication and reliability. The issue, however, is that Taurus tends to keep these expectations internalized. So, when their partner doesn't naturally align with these silent demands, tension builds up without anyone really understanding why. It's like an invisible wall that gradually puts distance between you two. This pressure isn't always deliberate, but it can feel suffocating. For example, if a Taurus partner values punctuality, they might feel frustrated when you're late, but they won't necessarily tell you how important it is to them. Instead, they bottle up those feelings. And before long, you're left wondering where things went wrong. Over time, this silent tension could erode the relationship's foundation. The lesson here? Communication is key. If you're in a relationship with a Taurus, or any partner for that matter, don't assume you know what they want. Ask. And if you're a Taurus, practice sharing your expectations instead of expecting your partner to read your mind. Being clear about your needs can actually strengthen the bond and prevent that invisible pressure from taking root. Possessiveness and control. Taurus is known for being loyal, almost to a fault. They will give everything to a relationship, often without hesitation. But this unwavering loyalty can sometimes manifest as possessiveness, a trait that can unknowingly start to creep into the dynamic, often in the form of control. This isn't always obvious or loud. It's not about demanding your every move, but more about subtly asserting dominance over certain areas of the relationship, like how much time you spend with friends or how you organize your shared life. At first, it might seem like harmless affection. Maybe your Taurus partner frequently checks in, asking about your day or how you're feeling. But if this turns into an obsession with where you are, who you're with, and when you'll be home, it can become draining. You start feeling like you're not allowed to have a life outside the relationship, even though that's never something they overtly demand. Take, for example, a Taurus partner who is incredibly loving and constantly wants to make sure you feel cherished. But the more they cling to you emotionally, the more it feels like a subtle tug on your freedom. It could be the constant checking in, the desire to know where you are at all times, or even making comments like, I don't like when you spend too much time with them about your friends. The intentions behind this might be well-meaning. It's about wanting to keep the relationship strong, but it can easily cross a line into control. For someone on the receiving end of this, it can be exhausting. You might start to feel suffocated, as if you can't breathe without feeling guilty. The advice here? It's all about setting boundaries. If you're in a relationship with a Taurus, try to be open about your need for space and independence. Make it clear that your relationships with friends and family are important too, and there's nothing wrong with maintaining those outside connections. Taurus, on the other hand, should be mindful of how they express their love. If you're a Taurus, remember that love isn't about ownership. It's about partnership. Being open about your emotions and asking your partner to meet you halfway, without trying to control their actions, will create a healthier dynamic that benefits both of you. Stubbornness and rigidity. Anyone who's ever been in a relationship with a Taurus knows how fiercely they hold their ground. Once Taurus has made up their mind, it's incredibly difficult to get them to change it. And while this steadfastness can be a wonderful quality in many situations, in relationships, it can create real friction. Imagine this scenario: you're in a disagreement, and it's clear that you have different perspectives. You've tried to explain your side, but no matter how many times you present your case, your Taurus partner remains unmoved. They're not being dismissive, they're just so certain that their way is the only right way. This rigidity often leads to unresolved issues. Instead of compromising, Taurus digs in their heels and maintains their stance. The problem with this? Over time, it leads to emotional distance. A partner may feel like their opinion doesn't matter or that their needs are always second to Taurus's unyielding certainty. This behavior often stems from Taurus's deep-rooted desire for stability. They resist change because it feels like it threatens their safe, predictable world. But in relationships, both parties need to bend occasionally, especially when it comes to communication and compromise. The key takeaway here is to embrace flexibility. For Taurus, it's about learning how to compromise without losing your sense of self. It's about understanding that sometimes, the relationship is more important than being right. For the partner of a Taurus, try to be patient. Your Taurus partner might need time to come around, but when they do, they'll be all in. However, don't let them dominate the relationship with their stubbornness. Speak up when necessary, and assert your own needs as well. The silent treatment and emotional guarding. One of the most subtle but impactful traits of Taurus is their tendency to retreat into themselves when things go wrong. Instead of confronting conflict head-on, they might withdraw, leaving their partner in the dark. It's not that Taurus doesn't care, it's just that their way of handling problems often involves shutting down emotionally. Picture this: you've had an argument with your Taurus partner, and instead of discussing it, they go silent. Days go by, and the emotional distance grows. You're left wondering whether they're still angry, or whether things will return to normal. In the meantime, the problem festers, unresolved. This emotional guarding can create a wall between partners, leading to feelings of isolation or abandonment. And while Taurus might feel like they're doing the right thing by keeping things to themselves, avoiding further conflict, it's often the case that silence breeds more misunderstandings. The more Taurus withdraws, the more the partner feels disconnected and unsure of where they stand. What can you do if you're in this situation? If you're the Taurus, it's time to open up. Communicate your feelings honestly and let your partner know when you're upset or feeling hurt. For the other partner, patience is key, but don't be afraid to gently encourage your Taurus partner to talk. Let them know that you're there to listen, that their feelings matter, and that you don't want to let things simmer under the surface. The goal is to break through the silence and create space for honest conversations. It's okay to have moments of emotional retreat, but it's essential to eventually come back together, discuss what happened, and heal as a team. Jealousy and insecurity. Now, this one may come as a surprise to some, but Taurus can be quite prone to jealousy. This isn't always about possessiveness, it often stems from a deep-seated fear of losing the stability they've worked so hard to create. When Taurus feels their relationship is threatened, their calm exterior can crack, and subtle signs of insecurity begin to show. Maybe it's in the form of questioning you about a conversation you had with someone else. Or perhaps they start getting unusually quiet or withdrawn when you're talking about a person they don't know well. This jealousy isn't always overt or explosive, but it can slowly create an emotional divide between partners. Taurus can be incredibly loyal, but that loyalty is tied to their need for security. When they feel threatened, their emotions can run deep, even if they don't always express them. If you're in a relationship with a Taurus and you notice signs of jealousy, try to reassure them. Often, Taurus just needs to feel secure and wanted. If you're the Taurus, take a step back and reflect on your insecurities. Is the jealousy coming from a place of trust, or is it a fear of abandonment? Recognizing these emotions and addressing them head-on can prevent them from sabotaging your connection. There's something quietly unsettling about the way Taurus holds on to stability, so tightly, in fact, that sometimes it can feel like they're keeping everything stuck in a never-ending loop of routine. Taurus craves comfort, the familiar, the predictable. To them, stability isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a non-negotiable part of life. But this need for routine, for things to remain the same, can sometimes feel like a barrier to emotional growth in a relationship. Imagine being with someone who finds comfort in their daily rituals, a cup of coffee at 7 a.m., the same walk around the neighborhood at noon, and the same quiet evening spent watching their favorite TV show. To some, this might seem cozy, but over time, the lack of spontaneity can wear down the connection. Your Taurus partner is so focused on maintaining their routines that they unintentionally ignore the need for change and excitement in the relationship. One of the most common complaints in relationships with Taurus is that things can start to feel too predictable. For example, when you want to try something new, whether it's taking a spontaneous weekend trip or changing up the way you spend time together, Taurus might hesitate. They could feel uncomfortable with the uncertainty that change brings. Their desire for stability can sometimes lead to emotional stagnation, making the relationship feel more like a partnership of convenience rather than excitement and growth. So how do you handle this? If you're the one in a relationship with a Taurus, it's important to approach the topic of change gently. Start small, suggest a new activity or a shift in routine that doesn't feel too threatening. Taurus values their security, so introducing gradual changes that don't disrupt their sense of comfort can help open them up to new experiences without feeling overwhelmed. If you're a Taurus, don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone now and then. Life is about growth, and sometimes, breaking free from your routine can breathe new life into both you and your relationship. Taurus has a reputation for being incredibly sensual, perhaps more than any other sign in the zodiac. This deep connection to physical touch and comfort in the material world often leads them to focus on the physical aspects of love. For Taurus, love is often shown through actions, preparing a meal, giving thoughtful gifts, or creating a cozy environment. But while this is all well and good, the focus on physical touch and material gifts can sometimes overshadow the deeper emotional connection that a relationship needs. Consider a Taurus partner who constantly showers you with gifts. They'll buy you flowers or surprise you with dinner, and you feel appreciated in those tangible ways. But after a while, you might start to realize that while you're receiving these thoughtful gestures, something feels missing. They're giving you everything on the outside, but when it comes to opening up emotionally, there's a wall. They're not as verbal about their feelings or deep emotional needs, and this creates a subtle disconnection between you two. If you're the one receiving these kinds of gestures from a Taurus, you may feel grateful, but you might also start to feel like something's missing. A relationship can't be built on just physical affection and material things. It needs emotional intimacy, too. So how do you communicate this to your Taurus partner? It's important to acknowledge their love language, giving gifts and being physical, but gently let them know that you also crave emotional depth. Taurus may not naturally express vulnerability, so encourage open, honest conversations about how you both feel. Let them know that you value their affection, but you also want to feel truly seen and understood. For Taurus, the advice is simple: you don't have to give up your physical expressions of love, but it's essential to remember that emotional intimacy is just as important. Take the time to share your thoughts and feelings, no matter how uncomfortable it might seem at first. This will create a more balanced connection, where both partners feel emotionally nourished. One of the most frustrating things for anyone in a relationship with a Taurus is their tendency to avoid conflict. Now, let's be clear, Taurus is not the type to pick fights. They hate drama. They prefer peace, and they will go to great lengths to avoid confrontation. But here's the problem: this aversion to conflict often leads to avoiding important discussions, which only makes things worse in the long run. Imagine this: you and your Taurus partner have a disagreement, but instead of facing the issue head-on, they shut down. They might retreat into silence. Or they'll say things like, "It's fine, don't worry about it." In theory, this sounds like an easy solution, right? Avoid the argument, and everyone stays calm. But in practice, this only leads to unspoken resentments and unresolved issues. The problem doesn't go away, it just festers under the surface. This behavior often comes from a desire to keep things stable. Taurus fears that by confronting an issue, they might upset the balance they've worked so hard to maintain. However, in relationships, avoiding conflict can create distance. Over time, emotional walls start to form, and you end up growing apart instead of resolving issues together. If you're the one on the receiving end of Taurus's conflict avoidance, it's important to recognize that this is not a sign of indifference. It's a reflection of their desire for peace, even if that peace comes at the cost of dealing with hard emotions. Your job is to encourage open communication. Approach the conversation gently, without aggression, and remind them that it's okay to have differences. You're not trying to fight, you're trying to understand each other better. For Taurus, this means learning how to face uncomfortable emotions. It's about embracing vulnerability and recognizing that addressing conflict directly doesn't mean chaos, it means growth. Conflict is inevitable in any relationship, but when handled with care and respect, it leads to deeper connection and understanding. There's an element of possessiveness that can often go unnoticed in a relationship with a Taurus. It doesn't always appear as jealousy in the traditional sense. Instead, it's a more subtle, insidious feeling that begins to take root when Taurus starts to feel insecure or afraid of losing what they've worked so hard to build. Imagine this: you've been spending more time with your friends or family, and suddenly, your Taurus partner becomes a little more clingy than usual. They want more of your attention and might even start making subtle comments about how much time you're spending with others. It's not about mistrust, it's about wanting to keep their world in check. For Taurus, a shift in your focus can feel like a threat to their stability. They love deeply and expect loyalty. And when that loyalty is questioned, their fear of loss can lead to possessiveness. It's important to note that this possessiveness often stems from insecurity. Taurus doesn't want to lose the stability and security they've found in a relationship. They've invested deeply, and the idea of someone or something taking their place can be terrifying. But the key here is communication. If you're the Taurus partner, recognize when you're acting out of fear and not love. Trust is essential, and holding on to your partner too tightly only creates distance. For those of you in a relationship with a Taurus, recognize that their possessiveness is not about controlling you, it's about their fear of losing what they've come to cherish. Be patient and reassure them of your loyalty. But also, set healthy boundaries that allow for personal space without causing unnecessary friction. A relationship should never feel like a cage. And with the right balance of trust, Taurus can learn to let go of their fears and allow the relationship to grow freely. As we continue exploring Taurus's impact on relationships, you might start to see how their traits, when misunderstood, can silently chip away at a connection. In the next part of this video, we'll dive deeper into the psychological aspects of these behaviors, showing how Taurus's quiet struggles can lead to larger issues in their partnerships. But before we continue, if you're enjoying this content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrological insights that help you navigate the complexities of love and relationships. Stick around, there's much more to uncover. One of the most crucial aspects of Taurus is their unwavering loyalty and need for security, but this can sometimes make them resistant to change. Change is a natural part of any relationship, but for Taurus, it's something they tend to avoid. The very idea of uncertainty can be uncomfortable for them. And while it's not necessarily a bad thing to value stability, this resistance to change can put the brakes on a relationship's growth, especially when both partners are at different stages of personal development. For instance, you might find yourself suggesting a new approach to a problem in the relationship, something that requires both of you to step outside of your usual routines. But when it comes to making those changes, your Taurus partner might not be open to the idea. They may feel uneasy, even threatened, by anything that deviates from the familiar. For them, there's a sense of safety in the tried-and-true patterns that they've become accustomed to. This can create a sense of stagnation in the relationship, where nothing really evolves, and both partners feel stuck in the same loop. In relationships, it's important to evolve together, whether that means trying new things, shifting perspectives, or simply growing as individuals. For Taurus, this can be a challenge. The key here is patience and understanding. If you're the one in a relationship with a Taurus, you need to be patient with their resistance. Don't force drastic changes, but try introducing small shifts. For example, you could suggest trying a new hobby together or plan a short trip to a place that's outside their usual comfort zone. It's about helping them see that change doesn't always have to be a threat, it can be an opportunity for growth and deeper connection. And if you're the Taurus, it's crucial to recognize that while stability is important, the inability to change can hold you back. Every relationship requires some degree of flexibility and openness. Instead of fearing change, try to embrace it slowly. You don't have to overhaul your entire life, but being open to new experiences can deepen your relationship and bring a fresh sense of joy. One of the most endearing qualities of Taurus is their sensuality. Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of love, beauty, and pleasure, and they are deeply connected to the physical world. From the smell of fresh flowers to the feel of soft fabrics, Taurus experiences life through their senses in a way that makes them extremely nurturing and affectionate. But here's the thing, while this can make them incredibly loving, it can sometimes overshadow the emotional depth that relationships need. For example, imagine you're in a relationship with a Taurus, and they express their love for you through thoughtful gestures, cooking your favorite meal, giving you a massage after a long day, or surprising you with a small gift just because. These are all lovely things that show you how much they care. However, when it comes to communicating their deeper emotions or discussing their fears and desires, they might fall short. They tend to focus on the physical aspect of love rather than the emotional one. So, while you might be receiving physical affection and material gifts, you might not be getting the emotional connection that you need. If you're on the receiving end of this, you might start to feel as though your Taurus partner isn't as emotionally available as they appear. You may appreciate all the thoughtful gestures, but you're longing for them to open up and share more about their inner world. They might be great at showing their love through actions, but when it comes to being vulnerable, they may not always express themselves verbally. This can create an emotional distance in the relationship, where one person feels fulfilled physically, but not emotionally. For Taurus, the key to deepening the relationship is learning to communicate more openly about their emotions. It's not enough to show affection through actions, you also need to share how you feel. Let your partner know about your fears, desires, and dreams. Opening up might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's essential for building a deeper emotional connection. It's about finding balance between physical affection and emotional intimacy. Another thing Taurus tends to do in relationships is avoid conflict at all costs. They crave peace and dislike drama, which means they often sweep issues under the rug instead of addressing them head-on. While this might seem like a good strategy for maintaining harmony, it often leads to problems building up in the background, waiting to explode later on. And let's be honest, no one wants to deal with a massive blow-up because something was avoided for too long. Imagine you've had a disagreement with your Taurus partner. Instead of discussing the issue openly, they might go quiet. They'll say things like "it's fine" or "I don't want to argue." But that only leaves you feeling unsettled, unsure about where things stand. This creates a cycle where unresolved issues build up over time, and the emotional distance between the two of you starts to grow. As the partner in this situation, it can be incredibly frustrating. You may want to resolve the issue, but Taurus's refusal to confront the problem leaves you feeling stuck. For Taurus, this avoidance of conflict comes from a desire to maintain peace and stability. They fear that discussing difficult topics will upset the balance of the relationship. However, by avoiding conflict, they're actually allowing it to fester, and that's a much bigger issue in the long run. The advice here is simple: don't avoid difficult conversations. If you're the Taurus partner, recognize that addressing issues head-on doesn't lead to chaos, it leads to growth. Communication is the foundation of a healthy relationship, and if you bottle things up, you're only making it harder to resolve issues later. For the partner of a Taurus, approach these conversations with patience and understanding. Let them know that it's safe to express their feelings and that you're there to listen. Don't press too hard, but gently encourage them to open up. Conflict doesn't have to be a battle. It can be an opportunity for both of you to grow closer and deepen your understanding of each other. Possessiveness is one of those traits that can quietly undermine a relationship, especially when it comes from a place of insecurity. Taurus can be incredibly loyal and committed, but this loyalty can sometimes border on possessiveness. While they may not always show it outwardly, Taurus often struggles with jealousy, especially if they sense a threat to the stability of their relationship. It's not always dramatic or overt, it's more of a subtle feeling of needing to control things to ensure that nothing disturbs the peace they've built. Imagine this: you're spending time with friends, but your Taurus partner keeps texting you, asking where you are, or expressing concern over how long you'll be out. You might chalk it up to their concern for you, but over time, you begin to feel like their need to control your whereabouts is stifling. They might say things like, "I just want to make sure you're safe," but beneath the surface, their possessiveness is a sign of deeper insecurities. For Taurus, this possessiveness often comes from a fear of losing the stability and security they've worked hard to build. When they sense a potential threat, their response is to protect what they hold dear, sometimes to the point of controlling their partner's actions. But the key to overcoming this possessiveness is trust. Trust that your partner values you, and that your love is secure, even if you spend time away from each other. For Taurus, it's important to recognize that love isn't about control, it's about partnership. If you're the partner of a Taurus, be patient, but also establish healthy boundaries. Reassure them of your loyalty, but also make it clear that you need space to live your life outside the relationship. Trust is the foundation of any healthy connection, and the more you nurture that trust, the less possessiveness will creep into the dynamic. Finally, let's talk about how Taurus can sometimes unknowingly push away the people they care about due to their inability to express vulnerability. The Taurus way of loving is often physical, grounded in actions, and sometimes this makes it difficult for them to communicate their deeper feelings. For example, a Taurus might be incredibly generous in giving gifts or planning intimate dates. But when it comes to emotional vulnerability, they clam up. This emotional guardedness can make it difficult for their partner to truly understand what's going on inside their mind and heart. A partner might feel like the Taurus is distant or cold because they aren't able to fully connect on an emotional level. But the truth is, Taurus is simply afraid of being vulnerable, afraid of showing their weaknesses or fears. For them, being emotionally exposed can feel like a threat to the stability they so deeply crave. For Taurus, the path forward is to embrace vulnerability. It's not easy, but it's necessary for building a deeper, more authentic connection with their partner. Sharing your fears, dreams, and uncertainties is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. Allow yourself to open up, even if it feels uncomfortable. For the partner of a Taurus, understand that this guardedness is not a rejection of you, but a reflection of their own struggles with vulnerability. Be patient and provide a safe space where your Taurus partner feels supported in opening up. When we talk about the silent, slow erosion of a relationship due to Taurus's traits, we can't ignore their tendency to create unspoken expectations. Taurus, as an earth sign, craves reliability and stability. And they often have a vision of what they believe a relationship should look like. But here's the twist: these expectations are rarely expressed. Instead, they linger silently in the background, like an unvoiced rulebook, and their partner may not even know they exist until they're caught in the pressure of trying to meet them. Take a moment to think about the times when you felt like you weren't living up to something, without fully understanding what that something was. You may have been with a Taurus partner, someone who seemingly never asks for much, yet their subtle disappointment or coldness makes you wonder if you missed the mark. They might never voice it directly, Taurus usually doesn't, but this unspoken expectation is silently felt. It could be something as simple as wanting their partner to be as punctual or organized as they are. Or it could be a deeper emotional standard, like needing constant reassurance but never saying so out loud. This silent pressure can build up over time, creating an invisible strain. Your Taurus partner might feel like you've let them down in some way, and while they might never express it, their actions may speak louder than words. They might become more distant, withdrawn, or even passive-aggressive. But here's the thing: unless you talk openly about these expectations, this cycle will continue. The key to preventing this quiet destruction is communication. Talk about what you both need, what you both value in the relationship. If you're a Taurus, try to express your needs more openly. If you're the partner of a Taurus, create an environment where honest conversations can flourish. And don't be afraid to ask about their feelings, even when they're not voicing them. Taurus's desire for control in a relationship often comes from a deep-rooted fear of losing what they've worked so hard to build. This stems from their love of stability, but it can create issues when their need for control begins to suffocate the other person. It's not about overt dominance, but rather about subtle ways in which Taurus may want to manage or influence the relationship's direction, often without realizing they're doing it. For instance, if you're in a relationship with a Taurus, you might notice that they have strong opinions about how certain things should be done. Whether it's how to decorate your home or how to spend your weekends, they may have a vision in mind that they believe is best. At first, it might seem harmless, and their ideas could even align with your own. But over time, this pattern of directing can start to feel like a lack of input or agency on your part. You might start to feel like your opinions and preferences aren't valued, as the Taurus subtly steers decisions in the direction they prefer. For Taurus, this behavior often comes from a place of wanting to avoid chaos. They are deeply invested in creating a stable, harmonious environment, and they believe that by taking control, they can protect that. But the truth is, relationships are partnerships, and in a true partnership, both individuals need room to grow and make decisions together. If you're the Taurus partner, it's important to step back and recognize when you're overstepping boundaries. Let your partner make decisions, too, and practice flexibility. Your relationship will become stronger when both partners feel empowered. For those partnered with a Taurus, try to gently assert your own preferences and ideas. Don't be afraid to speak up when something matters to you, even if Taurus seems set in their ways. You don't have to challenge them aggressively, but it's important to express your feelings and take part in the decision-making process. Relationships are about compromise, and while Taurus may struggle with letting go of control, they can learn that balance, given time and patience. The last trait we need to talk about is Taurus's tendency to use the silent treatment. This passive-aggressive behavior might not be immediately noticeable, but it can cause serious damage in relationships. Taurus doesn't always feel comfortable with direct confrontation, so instead of addressing an issue head-on, they may choose to shut down emotionally. They might give you the cold shoulder, not speaking to you or pulling away emotionally. While they may tell themselves they're simply avoiding conflict, this silence can be incredibly painful to their partner, who is left wondering what went wrong or how to fix it. Let's be honest, who hasn't experienced the quiet withdrawal of a partner during a disagreement? It's one thing if the silent treatment lasts for a few hours or a day, but when it becomes a recurring pattern, it builds walls in the relationship. You might find yourself walking on eggshells, afraid of triggering that withdrawal. And this creates a toxic cycle. Taurus might not even realize the emotional toll it's taking on the other person because they believe they're just giving the relationship some space. But space is one thing, emotional distance is something else entirely. If you're the Taurus in this situation, it's important to recognize that while you may need time to cool off after a disagreement, withdrawing entirely can be damaging. Try to communicate your feelings, even if it's difficult. You don't need to resolve everything immediately, but acknowledging that something's wrong is the first step toward healing. The key here is to break the cycle of silence. If you're on the receiving end of this behavior, approach your Taurus partner with patience and understanding. Let them know that you're there to listen when they're ready to talk, and that you're not going anywhere. As we come to the end of this exploration into the subtle but impactful traits of Taurus, we've seen how their need for stability, control, and silence can slowly chip away at the foundation of a relationship. But understanding these patterns is the first step toward breaking free from them. If you're in a relationship with a Taurus, or you are a Taurus, remember that growth comes from communication, vulnerability, and compromise. Relationships are not about perfection but about growth, learning, and evolving together. So, if you've found yourself relating to any of the behaviors we've discussed today, I encourage you to take a step back and reflect on how you can foster better communication, understanding, and balance in your own relationships. If you're the partner of a Taurus, offer them space to open up, but also be clear about your own needs. If you're a Taurus, take this as an opportunity to recognize the quiet ways in which you might be impacting those you love and consider how you can open up, relinquish some control, and communicate more openly. Before we wrap up, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more astrological insights and relationship tips. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to share it with anyone who could benefit from learning more about Taurus or astrology in general. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below and share your experiences with Taurus in relationships. What's your take on the silent killer of relationships? Let's keep this conversation going. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other.